Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Prescribed Fire and Smoke Briefing for Monday, April 15th, 2024. Starting with precipitation, we can see precip for the past 7 days shown here on the left is showing a pretty dry week over the basin, and percent of normal for the past 30 days does show a few pockets of above average precip there over western and southern Idaho and portions of central and southern Utah and even across far southern Nevada. Taking a look at the snow for the past 3 days here, we did see some snow over the higher elevations in western Nevada as the low moved through over the weekend. And today we are expecting some high elevation snow. There's a little bit here on the map already in northern Utah, but we'll see some more throughout the day today across the higher elevations of central Utah. Those lighter shades of blue are just 1 to 2 inches, so pretty light amounts expected there today and across the area. Precip snowpack across the Great Basin is shown here. Still quite a bit above average for Nevada and portions of Utah. And then up into Idaho, those areas are sitting right around normal, a little bit lower as you get further north of the central Idaho mountains at 85% of normal for the time of year. Okay, looking at the forecast for this afternoon, we did see a low pressure system move into the Great Basin over the weekend across the Great Basin for cooler temperatures region wide and some of that precip in Nevada yesterday. That precipitation is shifting eastward today over mainly Utah, the higher elevations, with some high elevation snow, low elevation rain today. Ventilation rates are high. Winds are going to be strong as this low moves through the area across much of the Great Basin, really just western Nevada that saw the wind over the weekend. We'll see some lighter wind today, mixing heights remaining high across the area. Cooler temperatures are in place over much of the Great Basin, especially on the eastern half, with some warmer temperatures already rebounding across the western half of the area, but still highs in the 60s across the west and in the 50s over the east. And looking at the probability of precipitation, we can see higher values over Utah up into eastern Idaho and western Wyoming as the low tracks through with clearer skies to the west. Tomorrow, that low rapidly moves off to the east, and we see another low moving into the northern Rockies, Pacific Northwest area. Not going to do too much for us, keeping temperatures on the cooler side and ventilation rates remaining high. Transport winds decrease across much of the area, but we will still see some gusty winds along the Snake River Plain, especially in eastern Idaho and portions of western Wyoming, and mixing heights remaining very high. Temperatures will start to warm somewhat on Tuesday, getting up into the low 70s across Nevada, a little bit cooler across the north and the east, however, as we're under the influence of that next trough moving into the northern Rockies there. Precip is going to be light on Tuesday with sunny skies across the area. On Wednesday, more of the same as expected. Drier air moving into the area with a low to the north and east, keeping kind of westerly zonal flow in place. Ventilation rates still remaining pretty high. Transport winds, again, lighter across much of the area, but we will see some gusty winds along the ridge tops in eastern Utah, influenced by that low to the north, and mixing heights remaining high. Temperatures staying warm on Wednesday across the south, highs in the 70s. As you move further north, the highs will be around 60 or low 60s, and then cooler further north, closer to that low. Pretty cool temperatures there in Montana and the central Idaho mountains, definitely freezing overnight. Probability of precip is going to be low across Utah and Nevada, but a little bit of chance for precip over the central Idaho mountains and western Wyoming, again associated with the low to the north. Clearing index for Utah for the next 3 days is shown here. Those values are going to be pretty high, pretty favorable for burning through midweek. Some lower values across the western deserts on Tuesday, but otherwise really high. Precip totals for the next 3 days are shown here. All this precip in Utah is coming today, and then we'll see some precip lingering across the north into Wednesday timeframe. On Thursday, the skies should clear up. It's a low, that trough over the northern Rockies kind of lifts off just a bit. So we should see zonal flow, westerly flow, a little bit of moisture in place across central Utah, but not looking for much in the way of precip, maybe some clouds. Keeping temperatures from getting too warm as westerly flow remains in place. Ventilation rates still looking pretty good. More of the same on Friday, a little bit of moisture spreading into the central Great Basin. little bit drier across the north. Ventilation rates decreasing just a bit here and there, but still pretty good. And then by Saturday, still some drier air across the Great Basin, looking for another low dropping into the Pacific Northwest or off the coast there. Ventilation rates remaining pretty favorable still into Saturday. And then on Sunday, that low begins to swing into the northwest, bringing some gustier winds and some warmer temperatures for the weekend into the Great Basin. Ventilation rates looking pretty good on Sunday. Precip accumulations for days 4 and 5. This is Thursday through Saturday. Not looking for a whole lot of precip, maybe just some spotty precip there in the central portion of the Great Basin as a little bit of moisture streaks across the area, and then maybe over the mountains there of central Idaho. The extended forecast for April 22nd through the 28th calls for above normal temperatures across the central U.S., bringing some warmth to the Great Basin, and above normal chances for precip as well across much of the western and central U.S., but even a higher chance for precip there over Utah and Nevada. This concludes today's briefing. Please check back on Wednesday for the latest updates.